It was a dark and stormy night. Yeah, that's it. That's all I had to tell you. That's my job.
Hold on, Simon Cat. Finally found the light switch. Wait, why am I reacting like this? A more accurate reaction would be... Okay.
The year is 2011, and Nintendo 3DS doesn't have games. Only Nintendo Switch has games, but that would soon change with the release of Super Mario 3D Land. Along with Mario Kart 7, these two games basically saved the 3DS after Nintendo had to dramatically reduce the initial price. But does Super Mario 3D Land live up to the legacy of what it accomplished?
I don't know, let's play it and find out! Well...
It's a very simple, play-it-safe Mario game with not much in terms of personality or uniqueness. But on the other hand, it's a very well-designed little platformer with solid mechanics, which no doubt would have been lauded the same way New Super Mario Bros. On the DS was, had it been released in 2006 like that game. So why does no one talk about this game?
Because they could be talking about the weather?
Are there two grandiose, atmospheric masterpieces that 3D Land had the misfortune of releasing on the other side of? Ohio. But now I'm getting ahead of myself. The story opens on a dark and stormy night, with a bunch of leaves being blown off a tree. These are the leaves that transform Mario into Raccoon Mario. Oh, and Bowser captures Peach as well, but we already knew that part, right? Every time you beat a world, you get a short cutscene of Mario getting a letter showing what Peach is doing. Mario! Deep stuff. There's even a Toad House in World 3 where you can view these pictures, because without it, the game would be unplayable, right? The world map is a straight line, moving on. Wait, we need to talk about something. The worlds do have specific themes to them, like grass, desert, beach, typical Mario stuff, but the levels themselves have completely random themes. What do you mean Mario games don't need continuity? Mario can still perform a lot of the moves he could in other 3D games, but because this game is so simple, you'll really only be running and jumping most of the time. And that's to this game's benefit. It was obviously designed with the 3DS in mind. Remember what happened when Nintendo took a game that was designed for an analog stick and put it on the DS? The controls just work so much better here. I'm convinced you would not be able to beat this game with 64DS's controls. 64 and Sunshine were fully open and exploration based. Then Galaxy and Galaxy 2 came along and shifted focus to have more linear levels, but they were still open and linear hybrid games. In other words, they were still played at your own pace kind of games. Then 3D Land came along and essentially became, oh, this is just like 2D Mario! The timer, the flagpole, the way power-ups work, those goofballs at Nintendo flabbergasted me into playing a 2D Mario game. I know it's 3D, facts and logic and all that, but it's 2D Mario! Well, how's the level design then?
Really good.
It's very simple, but just challenging enough to be engaging. In fact, this game's movement is more fun to me than standard 2D Mario, which feels weird to say out loud as an avid Mario Maker 2 player. The level design does have this fun to quickly run through quality to it that a lot of my favorite games don't have. I guess it just goes to show how different people can value very different things in games. Did you know the 3DS has glasses-free 3D technology? You probably forgot. I know I never mention this feature when I'm talking some 3DS games, and that's because Super Mario 3D Land was one of the only games that actually did anything with it. Okay, sure, most of it is just these rooms that showcase a block being visible in relation to its actual location when you turn the slider up, but the main use of the feature is just making the depth perception easier in general. My genuine thoughts?
Neat!
As for power-ups, the before-mentioned raccoon suit from Mario 3 makes a return. You can slow your descent with it, but you can't fly with it like you could in previous games. Some people don't like this change, but I agree with it mostly because it would break the game if you could fly. How do I know this? Because it already is overpowered in Mario 3. The Super Mushroom and Fire Flower are here, of course, and there's even the Poison Mushroom from It only appears in the Special Worlds, though, along with another variation of the raccoon suit. We'll talk about the Special Worlds in a minute, hang on. This variation lets you turn into an invincible statue, but you can't move as this statue. This is essentially the Tanuki suit from Mario 3, but we're not done with raccoon suit variations. If you fail too many times in one level, you can use the white Tanuki suit. This just makes you invincible, but this time you can move. And if you're even worse at the game, the P-Wing will appear and skip the level for you. Would I use either of these?
No.
But I'm glad they're here. This way, newer players can still have fun. And finally, the boomerang suit. I really like this one. You can defeat multiple enemies in one throw with it, it's cool. There are 3 star medals to collect in every level. They're just used to unlock extra levels. I'm glad they're here, the game would probably feel incomplete without them. The music is good, but fairly generic. As always though, my recommendations are the final boss theme, Special World 6, and Special World 8. The bosses are just Mad Lad, and a new character, Pom Pom, who appeared in Super Mario Party. You're stuck there now. You might be sensing a pattern here. 3D Land is a very derivative game. The final boss, though, is actually really epic. Bowser chases you through his castle while it's falling apart. That's so cool! Once you beat the game, turns out you only beat half the game, because you just unlocked 8 special worlds. The levels are remixed versions of levels from the main game, with a few new ones mixed in. Sometimes the changes come in the form of timer or cosmic clone challenges, which, again, were taken from Galaxy 2's prankster comments. I mean, that's what happens when you're the best. These levels can get pretty challenging too, which is nice. The game didn't need to double in length, but I'm glad it did, even if the first half is just a warm-up now. You can also rescue Luigi after beating the first special world, and then you can play as him. Like Galaxy 2 with the perfect run, 3D Land also has an ultra-hard final challenge level, and that was easy. The real challenge, though, is unlocking it.
Alright, it says you have to collect every star medal. Okay, makes sense. You have to reach the top of every flagpole. It's a little weird. And you have to beat every level as Mario and Luigi. No, 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 no!
I think this requirement is here just because it was also in Galaxy 1. Just saying. So the way I see it, there are 2 very different ways to look at games like Super Mario 3D Land depending on what you value in games. If all you care about is gameplay, 3D Land is excellent. Everything about this game tells you it's a well-designed 3D platformer. But if you're like me, it could have been so much more, and that's not just me saying that. Just look at the Mario games from the previous decade. There's so much creativity and personality, world building and atmosphere are given actual consideration, the levels feel like memorable lived-in places, whereas 3D Land is just a bunch of generic obstacle courses. This bland era of Mario games would continue up until the release of Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch.
I call it the new Super Mario Bros. Effect.
It was a dark and stormy night. The end.